Right. Thank you so much for having me, and I've learned a lot this morning, and am really excited to be here to tell you a little bit more about what we do related to apprenticeships in the Office of the Future of Work. So I'm Katherine Keegan. You have my email up there. I would love to continue the conversation out there at our booth or after this meeting, as we are really excited about the growth in apprenticeship and funding that we have available, and more funding to be expected from the state legislature to grow apprenticeships. Just a bit of background about the Office of the Future of Work. I just realized how fast I was talking, and I'll slow down. The Office of the Future of Work was established through executive order in 2019 from Governor Polis, and just a couple weeks ago actually got codified into state law. So the Office of Future of Work will be sticking around, and I like to say my future of work is more secure. But what we are tasked with doing is raising awareness about what the future of work looks like in Colorado, and then identifying policies and programs that will help prepare Coloradans, Colorado businesses, and our communities to face these changes. So we lead a few key initiatives that I'll talk briefly about. We also try to share best practices and research. We have an annual report that we release that goes over some of the major trends that we're seeing related to the future of work. And then we also align with a lot of our partners in state government to inform what they're doing and make sure that we're thinking about these trends as we take on new initiatives and move the work forward in state government. So our two main projects that we lead are, one, the State Apprenticeship Agency, which I'll talk the majority about today. And then we also oversee the state's Digital Equity Initiative. So a lot of what we talked about just right now and then this morning and throughout today is around the digital divide. And we know that broadband infrastructure is a huge gap in the state, and we partner with the broadband office as they build that out. But what we're really focused on in particular is closing that digital divide in terms of digital skills, access to affordable devices that are reliable and allow you to do what you need to do, and then access to affordable internet in your home. So we are charged with building the state's digital equity plan, and we have some funding to do that and some funding opportunities out to participate. And then over the next 5 years, we'll be looking to invest across Colorado to make sure that everyone has what they need to fully participate in work, learning, and daily life in our digital economy. So if that piques any of your interest, please follow up with me, and we'd love to engage you in that work and think about how we can support you to close that digital divide. But what I've been asked to speak most about is our state apprenticeship agency, which we call Apprenticeship Colorado. And before I do that, I want to give a quick overview of why apprenticeships are in the Office of the Future of Work, what we believe apprenticeships can do for the future of work. So I don't need to spend much time on this slide because we just heard about all of the trends facing the future of work and the future of the workforce in Colorado. We try to look at the future of work really holistically and think about the impact of globalization, market forces, technology, and demographic changes on our state. What jobs are available, what skills are needed, and who is available to do that work. So generally speaking, we've seen how these forces over the last 30, 40 years have really led to a proliferation of low-wage work, which means we have a lot of people that we need to transition into higher quality, higher paying jobs and build their skills to be able to do that, and also value the skills that they have from low-wage positions. We also know that we have workforce shortages. We heard that plenty this morning, and I don't need to spend much time on that. And we have a huge digital divide as technology continues to shape the skills that we need. I always like to ask at these things, how many of you have had to learn a new digital skill in the last 3 or 6 months, I'll say? Yeah, technology is changing, again, as we heard quite a bit today. And so thinking about strategies and planning to build digital skills for ourselves and for our workforce are critical. And as a result of all these changes, we know that people are going to be changing jobs and industries more often, and the industries themselves are going to be changing. So we have to develop a future-ready workforce that has a lifelong learning mindset, that has those digital and human skills and the business skills to apply to different contexts. We have to create more viable pathways into high-quality jobs, and we have to tap into untapped talent pools. You heard from some great organizations today that are helping us connect employers to new talent that they may have overlooked in the past to their detriment. We have a ton of talent in Colorado that hasn't been participating or hasn't had access to participate, and we want to make sure we're creating those pathways for them into high-quality jobs. And as all part of that, we need businesses and local communities to think about that workforce planning and build the pipelines and strategies to sustain that in the long term. And so that's why we believe apprenticeships are a key solution. The Office of the Future of Work houses Colorado's state apprenticeship agency. So we're really committed to growing registered apprenticeships across Colorado in all industries, because we believe apprenticeships and other types of work-based learning are part of the solution to these challenges that the future of work brings. They allow people to think about the skills and competencies that are required in their jobs to build the pathways throughout their business and to help people build their skills. And they create this sustainable plan for employers and for the participants and employees to understand. So what we do for apprenticeship in Colorado is that we are working with businesses day in and day out to build and register apprenticeship programs. We have a specialist team that works with businesses to explore whether apprenticeship is the right fit and to work through all the paperwork to register with USDOL. We also have funds available to support apprentices as they take on an apprenticeship, but also to support businesses to build their apprenticeship program. We know that identifying or building curriculum for training takes time and money. We know that mentorship and having staff to be able to be those mentors to new employees takes money. And so we have funds available to support you in doing that. And we are working to align our workforce system and work with partners like CareerWise, who you'll hear from, to make sure that more employers are using apprenticeship and more people see apprenticeship as a future for themselves. And then we're at this really exciting moment with apprenticeship, because right now you register with the US Department of Labor in order to be registered as an apprenticeship program. In July of this year, we'll be recognized by the US Department of Labor as the state apprenticeship agency, which means we are the organization that you register with versus having to submit it to a federal agency. So the goal for that is to make it as easy as possible for businesses to get on board, to access state services and state resources, and to register their programs. And so registered apprenticeships you may be familiar with, but they have a few key components that we think make them incredibly powerful to address the future of work. So one, it's a paid job. Workers are employees from day one, and they are starting so that they don't have to stop out of work to take on education or to build their skills. So as they learn skills, they get an interim wage increase. So you reward them for the skills that they learn based on the plan that you have identified. They have a combination of on-the-job learning, where they're working at the workplace to build their skills and learn what it takes to be in that occupation, but they also get learning in a classroom. So that's where we have great partnerships with related instruction providers, whether that's a community college, a technical college, a third-party provider, or your own educational partners at your business. So we build that out so they get classroom learning, on-the-job learning, and then each apprenticeship program is required to have a mentor. So that is someone in the workplace that connects with those apprentices to help them build their skills, to help them settle into the workplace and learn what it means to work in this industry. And so it's a very powerful model. And when you register your program, you're ensuring both for the apprentices and people seeking jobs that it has these really these components that make it high quality and make it a quality experience for the workers and for the employer. So we believe, again, very much in apprenticeship programs, and what we've seen over the last few years as Colorado and the federal government has invested in more apprenticeships is that they have real benefits for employers. It increases employee retention as you have people building their skills and seeing that employer invest in the on-the-job learning and in that mentorship. It also can engage your existing workforce in a really cool way. So we have 5 generations in the workforce, some people that are planning to retire or planning to switch industries. It can engage those individuals to help mentor and shape what that apprenticeship looks like. It's also employer driven, so it's based on your needs and the talents and the skills that you require. So not every apprenticeship program is the same. It's really driven by what you need in your business. And it results in real access for populations that might not otherwise see a path into a business for themselves. We know that it's really hard, especially now, for people to stop out of work to build their education. And so we really want people to earn a paycheck while they learn, so that they can start into these viable career pathways, and we can start to address our workforce shortages from day one. So we're not waiting for them to complete a credential, but they're doing it as they're also providing value to a business. And those wraparound supports, the structure that apprenticeships provide, as shaped by the work of the employer with our specialist team, can really make it a meaningful experience for that apprentice from day one. So we hear a lot of myths about apprenticeship. I think apprenticeship can be a buzzword, and people might like, oh yeah, we have apprenticeships, we have internships, and conflate those two. There are different models, and we know that apprenticeship may not be the best fit for every employer, but where it works, it can really work. And so some of the other myths we hear that are all apprenticeships have to be 4 years long. It is, again, shaped by the needs of the employer. So we have a minimum length for an apprenticeship of 1 year, or 2,000 hours. There are competency-based apprenticeships or time-based apprenticeships, so you can decide what makes the most sense for your occupation. We also know that when we say registered apprenticeship and that you register with the federal government or with a state agency, it can feel really burdensome. And we've invested in staff and resources to make it as easy as possible to complete that paperwork, to get registered, so that your apprentices leave with that nationally recognized credential. Apprenticeships have been born and bred in the trades, in the building and construction trades, but we've seen incredible growth, which I'll show in a second, across all industries. And you'll hear a lot about that from CJ about CareerWise and the modern apprenticeships that they're cultivating in new and emerging industries. Apprenticeships can work across occupations. There's over 1,200 occupations that the federal government has identified as apprenticeable. So the sky's really the limit. We're working on a drone pilot apprenticeship. We have business operations, financing, HR. We have tons of different types of apprenticeships, and more to be built. And then a lot of apprenticeships are connected with unions, but they don't have to be. So a lot of our apprenticeships are also employer-based with a single employer, with industry associations, with others. So it's a great model that's very flexible, and that's why we believe in it for us as one of the solutions for the future of work. And so, just to sort of underline the breadth of industries that apprenticeships are in, we've seen incredible growth in IT, cybersecurity, healthcare, education, public sector, professional services, real estate. So there's a lot of opportunity. We would love to have a conversation with you about how apprenticeship might be a good fit, and we have a ton of resources available and more to come in the form of funding, technical assistance, communities of practice to help support you as you think about whether apprenticeships might meet your workforce challenges. And one of those is our great partnership with CareerWise and the work that they're doing in Colorado and nationally. And so I believe I'm handing it off, but I don't know if Yvonne, are you going to read a bio first of CJ? But thank you. I appreciate you all being here. I appreciate the chance to share a bit more, and I hope to continue the conversation.
Let's try it again. I used to be a cop. So I worked with a big, tall drink of water. His name was Dano Singleton. And his literal name was Dano. Bookham Dano. Who's my Bookham Dano guys in the room, right? Who remembers? We're not that old. So Dano used to tell kids, I can either ask you, or I'm going to tell you, or I'm going to make you. And kids would look up at Dano and say, what do you want me to say, Officer Singleton? So I'm going to ask you again. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, that's so much more pleasant, isn't it? It's so much nice. It's so much nicer to hear that. Thank you. First of all, I start every day in a place of gratitude. And so thank you for being here today. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for your ability to show up, sit 55 minutes, not moving, drinking a bunch of water and coffee, and listening to Economics Before 8. That was a brilliant title for that. So thank you. Thank you for your time and your energy and your passion. Yes, I used to be a police officer with the city of Aurora for 23 years. And people ask me all the time, how did you get here? Students ask me all the time, what's the pathway to your job, Ms. Renaud? And so I am the perfect model for apprenticeship. I come from a marginalized community. I come from a single parent home. I come from a parent who, my mom drank until I was 18, and she was absent most of the time. My dad left the home. We didn't there were times we didn't know where food was coming from. And I knew, as sure as the day was long, that the only way out of that neighborhood and out of that situation was for me to go to college, because back then, that's what we said. We said, go to college, right? And that doesn't always work for all of us. And quite honestly, I need to know if somebody in here is using their college degree right now. Raise your hand. There's just a couple of us, right? I have a bachelor's degree in kinesiology with a sociological emphasis and a community health minor. Ladies, what I was going to do was watch cute boys lift weights. It does not pay your rent. And your husband doesn't appreciate it either. So go figure. So then I was in law enforcement, and I kept creating programs for community members to, because I did not want to be the pipeline to prison. And I was not. I was a school resource officer for 12 out of those 23 years, and I probably locked up maybe 6 kids. I probably got in maybe 3 or 4 fights. I never shot anyone. No one ever shot at me. I had a blessed and fortunate career, but in building those programs and those systems and communities, I realized that there was more. And then I went on and got a master's in education, because I know my educators in the room, they were not going to let me in that space. And we talked earlier about the imposter syndrome. They were not going to let me in that space just because I had 23 years in law enforcement and I had seen a lot and handled a lot and talked to a lot of people. They were not going to let me in that space. So I'm here today to tell you that apprenticeship is the changing of the narrative. And I think, Yvonne, all day today, the changing of the narrative. That's what our focus needs to be, because we spend so much time trying to educate and tell people this is what apprenticeship is. Katherine Keegan just did a phenomenal job on telling you what it is. But I bet you in 5 minutes somebody's going to meet me out front and say, now, CJ, how do I do this again? What is it again? Is it an internship? I spend so many times in meetings and they go, oh, we had interns. I'm not giving you interns. We are looking at apprenticeship as the new narrative to change the way we develop our own talent and to help the state and this economy recover from all the things. And apparently at economics this morning at before 8, we're not going into a recession. So that's good news. What is apprenticeship? It is industry-led. Every single person in here, every single industry, every single organization in this room has the ability to hire an apprentice. You have operations in your facilities, right? You have finance, you have HR people, you have business ops. We do that. It's a combination of work-based and classroom learning. Like Katherine said, earn while you learn. It's the bridge. It's what's gonna bring us together. And it ends in employees ready to step into a full-time, fully paid, fully benefited position. I was blessed and fortunate enough to work with District 6 in Greeley, Colorado, as the first and ever Black female school district administrator to hold the position of Business and Community Partnership Administrator. And we built the first and only school district hosted registered apprenticeship alongside a business, which was Vestas. And Kevin Ettinger is in the back of the room. He can attest to the meetings and how we stood that up and how we thoughtfully engaged students. And one of the apprentices to finish that apprenticeship went on to Denmark, and she climbs the towers and builds the blades. It's transformative. It's life-changing. So what it's not, right? CJ, we took interns. No, what we're looking at are creating and growing your own workforce and your own talent. It's a long-term investment for the organization. It's a workforce integration. We know that from our numbers with CareerWise that industries sometimes see a culture shift once they take on apprentices. Because as a police officer, we love to tell stories and talk about ourselves. I am a good time, by the way, at a party. So if you guys see me out at a bar or something, all you have to do, I'm pretty easy too, just a drink and a shot, and you'll probably hear some Colfax stories, okay? So, but we change the culture when we bring that talent in, those young people in, and they want to ask and they want to inquire, and they upskill quicker. they learn faster. I have my nice little bachelor's and master's degree, but if you brought me into the tech space alongside of one of our students from one of our educational partners here in town, that would be who you would hire, not me. Because they are capable, they are doing things quicker. Technology is changing. They grasp it far better than you and I do. So the benefits, we've all heard about it today. Apprentices, meaningful work enables the rest of your team to focus. That's what I was talking about. Like the culture and the shift that happened at Vestas was unbelievable. It's advanced manufacturing, for crying out loud. Nobody, what? It's the dirty warehouse syndrome, right? Vestas is a beautiful organization. If you've never toured it, go in there and see. It's clean. And technology exists in there. Students at District 6 earn a 1.5 science credit for their apprenticeship, not their internship. So it's transformative, and it fosters a culture of mentorship. So Vestas created an actual mentoring team. And they had, at that time, they had 30 plus mentors, a supervisor over the mentors, and then an HR staff to help support all things apprenticeship. And so that mentoring component was the secret sauce to what they were doing over there. Apprenticeship looks like this. With CareerWise, it's 2,000 hours of on-the-job training. It's 144 hours of related training and instruction. That's the earn while you learn model. We have a related training and instruction team. We have an education team. We have a business partnership team, which I'd like to mention today is here. Stephanie Bennett and Emily Sanders are part of my team right here. Wave your hand, Emily. There we go. They are the rock stars of this work. That for CareerWise, they run out and they run headfirst into the walls and into your organizations, trying to get you to understand and see the value of apprenticeship and to stand that up in your organization. So you'll be able to get with them out front if you want to chat more with them about that. It also looks like an industry certification or credential. Oftentimes, we don't need this master's or this bachelor's. Oftentimes, we're allowing students to get stackable certifications or certificates. Stephanie, am I using it right? To allow students to take those things. Those are transferable things that they can take with them. And when we register your apprenticeship, which is great to hear that we'll be doing it with the state now with Katherine Keegan's office. The USDOL, it can be cumbersome. However, there's a person that walks through it and takes care of it for you. So all the things you're thinking about, well, I can't do that, or how am I going to do that, or all you have to think about is the why. And we have to change the narrative. So we have to go back to work, and we have to go up to the boss's office, or we have to go to the HR, and we have to say, all these positions that we're hiring for, they're apprenticeable. And we are not lacking access to talent in this state. We have some of the most amazing students right down the road. The talent is lacking access to the opportunity, and that is you. Everyone in here. We host our own apprentices at CareerWise. We have an apprentice ambassador. His name is Tway. He is brilliant. He supports over 300 plus apprentices. And when they call in the middle of the night and they say, I need a bus pass, I need to get food, Tway, I need a ride to work, I need social emotional support, Tway. Tway does that. He's an apprentice. We hired him. I spent 2 of the most humiliating hours being taught Salesforce by an apprentice. It was awful. That is what we're doing. We're offering, so we're looking at 2,000 hours, 144 hours, an industry credential, and we're asking students to be 100% proficient in the skills that you're asking them to do in your organizations. We have a 2- and 3-year model. One is for rising juniors and one is for rising seniors. Emily Sanders, our new business partnership manager, is even envisioning a 15-month one for a quicker upskill and lift. We've seen this with Katherine Keegan as well with her slides. There are over 1,200 occupations that are apprenticeable across the state. We are lifting off right now. We just lifted interpreter for my healthcare friends. We have a CNA to LPN to RN degree program. I was just talking with Carol Salter about that this morning. We have all of these occupations are already built out at the state. Your related training and instruction is built already through there. So it's almost like a plug and play. And I know my team hates it when I say that, but it is. It's literally a plug and play. So we have those occupations, we have the competency sets, we even have the partnerships with the related training and instruction with Ames Community College, UNC's, Front Ranges, Western Governor University. We have the ability to get the butts in the seat time, so to speak. CareerWise offers to do the recruiting. We help set up the training plan. So educators can't leave the building and businesses can't run all up into the education systems. We can't interrupt instruction, right? That's an act of God. And so with CareerWise, we have relationships with all the school districts. So up here, we are connected with both sides of the highway, Thompson, Poudre, Windsor, District 6, Milliken, Johnstown, all the schools. And so we have a relationship with the schools already, and the counselors, and the students. We have access to the students. So we do the recruiting. We do the training of the apprentice. We have a boot camp and employee essentials. And so we make sure that they're ready to come into your environment and do the work of your organization. We have employer training. We train the supervisors. We have found that our apprentices are completing on a more efficient manner when our supervisors are having a good experience. As the adult in the room, if your experience isn't good and you don't understand what needs to be done with that student, then all of a sudden it becomes, CJ, I don't want to babysit. You can't babysit your coworkers. You shouldn't have to, by the way. That's a bad thing if that's happening. But we create a situation where we can outline what students need to know in the first stage. We've gotten it down to the first week. Here's what they need to know. We can even create sandbox projects so that you have some things to evaluate them through, and the supervisor's experience is good, and they go through the training, then the student has a good experience, and they complete. Because internship, apprenticeship, starting an apprenticeship, that's not the end. Creating a space where a student has a family sustainable living wage job, that's the end. The kid who has the pathway to my job, your job, that's the end. That's where we're trying to get people to. That's why it's transformative. So I would challenge everyone in here, first of all, to take either some kind of information off the desk out there, connect with me, say, CJ, I'm going to put you in touch with who hires. We have a need. And explore what the hiring pain points are. Deep dive into the appropriate occupations. What are they? Do you need nurses in healthcare? Yes, is the answer to that. Do you need teachers? We are actually changing some of the landscape for policy on how you become an educator in the state. Our CareerWise people are. Connect with the internal champions. And usually, oftentimes, this is a top-down initiative that gets driven. So connect with the leadership and say, this is a way for us to change our need for talent, for human talent in our organization. And then connect with us, and we'll create a hiring and project timeline for you. That's me and my email. Again, I would like to say thank you for your time, your energy, and your passion. Remember that if you put your time and your energy into something, be passionate about it. Thank you.